Thanks to industrialization and changing attitudes about child labor, kids today enjoy significantly more leisure time than children living a century ago or more. Despite having fewer hours for playtime, children throughout history found ways to entertain themselves, even if the only toys available were bits of rock or scraps of fabric. Creative kids found ways to transform whatever materials they had on hand into toys that gave them just as much amusement as today's cutting-edge electronics. Read on to learn about the history of play and explore some of history's top toys, from the rudimentary jacks of the caveman days to the steel building sets of the early 19th century. The simple hoop in its various forms has entertained children for thousands of years. Kids in ancient Egypt shook dried grapevines around their waists as early as 1000 BCE, forming the earliest known hula hoops. By the 14th century, both adults and children used metal or wooden hoops for spinning, another pastime similar to what's now known as hula hooping. Children and adults in Europe and the Americas rolled wooden hoops over the landscape by hand or by using a simple wooden stick to propel the hoop forward. The erector set was the Lego building set of the early 20th century. Created in 1913 by a Yale-educated doctor, this toy contained a selection of steel girders in various sizes that kids could connect using regular nuts and bolts to craft buildings, bridges, machinery and countless other structures. Like modern building blocks, the components in an erector set could be disassembled and reused over and over, leading to years of play and learning. Later sets came with electric motors, wheels, pulleys and gears so kids could bring their creations to life, resulting in Ferris wheels that spun at the turn of a crank or steam shovels that could really pick things up. Since ancient history, marbles have amused children around the globe, and archaeologists have dug up specimens from Africa to ancient Greece to North America, with some marbles dating back to 3000 BCE. The earliest version of this toy was made using whatever was on hand, such as stones, nuts or fruit bits. Later, marbles were made from clay, and high-end versions were hand-painted with intricate designs. Ancient Greek documents date the yo-yo back to 500 BCE, when children and adults crafted models made from wood, metal or painted clay. By the 18th century, French nobles played with yo-yos made from glass or ivory. The modern yo-yo dates back to 1929, when immigrant Pedro Flores started the yo-yo manufacturing company in the United States. Within a year, his company, which later became the Duncan Toy Company, was producing a whopping 300,000 of the toys each day. Little girls have always found ways to practice their nurturing skills using simple dolls made from whatever materials were on hand. Homemade dollies were often crafted from rags or scraps of clothing, though children have also used wood, bone, clay and other materials to sculpt these toys throughout history. The earliest known doll dates to the 1st century. It was found in Egypt and made from scraps of rags and papyrus. While it's likely girls have played with similar dolls since ancient times, the materials used to make these toys are relatively fragile, and few specimens have survived to the modern age. While performing experiments in the field of optics during the early 19th century, Scottish scientist Sir David Brewster noticed that angling a set of mirrors within a tube resulted in mesmerizing patterns of light. While Brewster didn't set out to make a toy, he quickly realized the value of his invention and patented his kaleidoscope within a few short years. Using chips of colored glass, tinsel and beads in conjunction with the mirrors helped the kaleidoscope form elaborate patterns of color and light. Thanks to its simple craftsmanship, some versions of the classic cotton ball can be found in many different parts of the world. The toy likely originated in France during the 16th century when young nobles amused themselves with the bilboquet. This toy consisted of a wooden ball equipped with a small hole. A string connected the ball to a pointed stick, and players would swing the stick in an attempt to align the hole and the point, which would lodge the ball in place at the end of the stick. European explorers took this toy around the globe, where it shows up in artwork and literature from Japan to North America. As a young John Lloyd Wright watched the construction of an earthquake-proof structure designed by his father, he was inspired by the building's interlocking beams. While there was no shortage of toy building sets on the market during the early 20th century, there were none that used this type of interlocking design. In 1924, Wright introduced a set of wooden log toys with notches at either end of each log to fasten the pieces together for sturdy construction. He named his toy after President Lincoln and even used a picture of Lincoln on the box to help with advertising. He named his product Lincoln Logs after the former president's famous childhood cabin. If your most recent memories of Jacks involve treading carefully to avoid stepping on their evil points, you might be surprised to learn the long and storied history of this beloved toy. Historians suggest that children have played some version of this game since the Cro-Magnon period, when kids scooped up rudimentary jacks to improve hand-eye coordination for hunting. Long before the days of modern metal jacks and bouncy rubber balls, kids fashioned jacks from the nucleons of sheep or simply used beans, rocks or bits from fruit. Balls were made from wood, or kids simply tossed a rock in the air and tried to scoop up as many jacks as possible before the stone hit the ground. The song, "This Old Man," was developed by young jacks players as a means of counting their progress through the game. Toys have always served as a means of helping children learn adult skills in a fun, kid-friendly way, and the rocking horse is no exception. For centuries, horses were a vital part of life, crucial to transportation, hunting and sport. The earliest rocking horses served as a safe and easy way for kids to pick up basic riding skills, without the danger associated with falling off or being thrown off a real horse. 16th century models were homemade and built similar to cradles. It wasn't until the 18th century that the rocking horse took on its modern form, with carved wooden legs stretched over long, curved bows,